because they give us all these great guests. So many former players, former quarterbacks, former college athletes, man. We are going to keep it going here. Welcome to another episode of Believe in the Houston Texans. I am one part of your squad, Ruben Calvillo, joined by the handsome man, Harley Dugan. We are giving you an early episode, but first, we are brought to you by Bet Online. The holiday season is off and rolling with NFL in full stride and the NBA and NHL hitting mid-season form. Bet Online is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info. With up to the minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions, Bet Online is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports.
And not just the big four, BetOnline has info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that's played. That's from MMA to international soccer. Head to the BetOnline today and remember to use our promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Where the game starts, guys. Welcome to this very early episode. Cool Kid asks, is Tank gonna be out? I saw that D'Amico Ryan said he's trying to play. I'm not sure what's going on. Do you have any info on that?
They just said they were doing some imaging on his calf.
Hmm.
So who knows? I don't think it's anything that serious. I'll say that. They did say that Tank didn't look like he was limping or anything. So by they, I mean local media here in Houston. They didn't see him limping or anything. We'll definitely find out more tomorrow. Thursday is always a good indicative of who's going to be playing on Sunday for the injury report. So, but Noah Brown practiced.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take anything I can get back.
Yeah. Excited for him to be back. I mean, 2 big games back to back, 150-yard performances. The only other 2 Houston Texans wide receivers to do it, the GOAT himself, Andre Johnson, and DeAndre Hopkins. Speaking of the GOAT, the semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Harley, how do you feel about the GOAT, man? Potentially getting in.
I mean, it shouldn't even be potential. He should get in. This is Andre Johnson. Should be an easy decision, in my opinion. Andre has got just a lot of accolades besides the biggest one in terms of playoff production and Super Bowls. And, you can't really go that hard against him when the Houston Texans just started as a team and didn't have a lot to go for. But Andre Johnson was always that guy for us as Texans fans. He is more than just your Houston Texan great. Like, this guy is renowned across the NFL, and there are former players that will tell you how great of a wide receiver Andre Johnson was, how he carried himself in the locker room as just this kind of like the Undertaker, that quiet leader in the locker room, but can be vocal when you need him to. That's what Andre Johnson reminds me of, one H-Town legend to another.
That was fantastic. Shout out to The Undertaker. He used to scare me as a kid. That one episode on Friday Night SmackDown when he came out of the casket and scared Randy Orton, I was terrified for weeks. Shout out to CM Punk coming back, man. Look at my eyes. What do you see? This weekend, Harley. Oh, some more breaking news. Titus Howard out for the year.
Oh, yeah.
And, it pains me that he got hurt at left guard. And I don't want to see anyone throw any slander at Titus Howard or complain and moan about the contract. This dude has done everything he has been asked, going all the way back to Bill O'Brien, playing all over the offensive line. We know he's a natural right tackle going all the way back to his times at Alabama State, but he steps up and plays wherever the Houston Texans need him to. It really sucks that Titus Howard got hurt, but expecting a big season next year.
Yeah, I am too. Titus Howard, again, I think you hit it on the head there. I mean, any type of criticism that people are going to throw at him, it's because he's playing left guard. It's not because he's playing his natural position, right tackle. We all know he's not a left guard. We all know this. Apparently, the Houston Texans like what they saw from George Fant, and they want to keep the best 5 available out there in their offensive line. So, kudos to Titus Howard for playing out of position, not, for Nick Casario's quote, bitching and moaning about it, and went out there being a good soldier for us. So, I appreciate what he's done. It sucks that he got, a season-ending surgery. Hope everything comes back next year stronger, better, and back at right tackle.
And guys, we are going to welcome in our guy, Patrick, co-host of Let's Ride on Believe Network, Broncos Country. Let's Ride. Welcome to Houston Texans. First of all, how's it going, man?
Dude, it's good. I just got off the call with Chris. We were recording our game preview episode. I'm happy to jump in here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm feeling good, man, on a 5-game win streak. What can I say?
5-game win streak, and that's nothing new to the Texans, right? We ended a 4-game win streak a couple of weeks ago to the Cincinnati Bengals. But I wanted to ask you about Sean Payton, because his story this year, I mean, it's crazy. You trade a first round, and I believe you swap second and thirds next year. And he goes to having this quote that everyone goes crazy about: the worst coaching job I seen was last year. Gets 70 put on him, and now you're on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah.
What's going on,
dude? That's the way it goes in the NFL sometimes, man. And I'll be honest. When I heard about the trade going on, I knew they were looking into him. There were some other guys that were at the top of the list. DeMeco was definitely one of those guys that was at the top of my list. Really happy that he ended up in Houston in a good situation. But I'm fine with settling for Sean Payton and that trade. Historically, when you trade for coaches, it generally works out pretty good. And Sean Payton was just one of those dudes that, going from Nathaniel Hackett last year to Sean Payton now this year, it's been pretty refreshing for me. The 70-point game was tough. I definitely shed a few tears. Definitely questioned, why am I a fan of this team again? But they restored my faith. And I feel so good about it. I feel like Russell Wilson is playing very good football right now. I feel like Sean Payton is doing a very good job at calling games from an offensive standpoint. And man, the turnaround that Vance Joseph has had from giving up 70 points and losing by 50 to now having one of the most insane streaks of defensive turnovers that we have ever seen in the NFL. I feel pretty good, man. I feel pretty good. But this is a Texans show. So I want to give some love really quick to the Texans.
What?
CJ Stroud. Some love. I'm gonna spread some love here. CJ Stroud, one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch from this draft cycle, is still one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. I am so happy that the Houston Texans have a good quarterback again, because that franchise deserves to have a good quarterback. I'm so happy that DeMeco Ryans is there, because that dude is a great coach and he deserves to be in a good spot. And he's a player's coach, man. I love players' coaches. So I'm happy, man. I'm very happy.
Shout out to the Jags fans in here, man. Get away from us.
Hey, we like to have fun. We love to have some fun on the podcast. Appreciate you throwing some love, throwing some love to H-Town, by the way.
Always.
We're going to be 6-5 against the 6-5 team, man. Both teams are hungry. Who do you think's hungrier? That's really what it's going to come down to.
Man, that's a good question. I think right now, the way that the playoffs are shaken up, I feel like it's pretty even in the terms of hungriness. Both teams are 6-5, and we're kind of looking at, we're looking at Buffalo, we're looking at Kansas City, we're seeing those guys struggle, and both of these teams are having success when it matters. And I think both teams are really hungry. For Houston, this is a long time coming, man. I mean, they want that division title. They don't just want the playoffs; they want the division title. So yeah, you're gonna have to chase after the Jags, and there's still a lot of football left. And for the Broncos, it's kind of that same deal. You've watched the Chiefs run the division for the last however many years. You just broke a 16-game streak against one of the toughest teams in the NFL. And now you're watching them struggle while you're having success. I think in terms of hunger, both teams are equally as hungry.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. This has now became a must win for both squads.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, what was the turning point for the Denver Broncos? Because I'm looking here, it was, a kind of rough stretch your first couple of weeks, 1-5, and then you go on this amazing, run. What was the turning point? Because two losses came after the 70 bomb by Miami.
Yeah, and I mean that 70-point game. That is one of those situations where in football we say you kind of need to get punched in the mouth. Losing to the Jets, that was one punch in the mouth. Losing those games early on to the Raiders and the Commanders, those are also, those are just little jabs. Losing to the Jets was a full-on left hook, and then getting a 70 burger put on you is the uppercut, right? And now you got to lick your wounds. You got to get up. There's still a lot of football left. The season isn't won in the first, 4 to 6 weeks. The season's won in the last 12 weeks of the season. That's where your season is won. And for the turning point for the Broncos, really, I think came when we beat the Chiefs. When that streak ended, that was like, whoa, hang on a second. We got something going, because that streak, let me tell you, from a fan's perspective, that streak was awful to watch. Every single game, it was like, all right, well, how many points are they going to put up on us this time? What crazy thing is Patrick Mahomes going to do this time? And even last season, I watched us be down like 21-3, still managed to fight back, take the lead late in the game, and we still lost. So it was like, great. It's just going to go on forever at this point. But when they beat the Chiefs, when you take down Big Brother, that right there lights a spark. And I think, for all the struggles that they went through defensively, for all the struggles that Russell Wilson had early on in the season, Sean Payton, being Sean Payton, the big hoss that he was down in, I feel like a lot of people don't remember the kind of team that he ran in New Orleans. He was the team who was punching people in the mouth. He was the team that was like, hey, we're the underdogs. I'll show you what an underdog is, right? And now they've kind of taken that identity, and each week they're getting a little bit better at one thing. And I said this to Chris a couple weeks ago. They're playing playoff football in the regular season. It's not pretty. We're not putting up 300 points a game or 300 yards a game. We're not doing that. We're running the ball. We're controlling the clock. We're making smart decisions, and we're playing lights out defense. That's playoff football. That's how you win football games. So the turning point, Chiefs game. That's it.
Oof, man. You talk about Russell Wilson a lot, and we all know what's going on with the aura that he has entered with Denver and the Broncos. What is it like to have that energy there? Because it feels like it's been such a roller coaster for the past 2 years with y'all. Yeah. There's been just everyone, let's throw all the nails and glass and shards at Russell Wilson. And now it's kind of like, looking at his recent games, I mean, last 5 games on the winning streak, man, 8 tutties, no interceptions, regardless of points being scored. You are 5-0 and you're not turning the ball over. And that's always what you want to do. What's up right now with you, man?
Well, the biggest thing is that Russ is playing smart football. And you mentioned no turnovers or no interceptions. He had the fumble last week. He's had a couple fumbles during this streak, but we'll take that. But the biggest thing is that he's just making smart decisions at the line. One of the things that we saw last year with Nathaniel Hackett was taking too long to get the playoff, right? If you're taking too long to get the playoff, huddle's not going to break on time. You're going to face a lot of delay game penalties, false starts, because guys are getting anxious before the snap. And when you go from, the worst coaching job in NFL history, we'll say it was out there before Sean Payton said it, to what Sean Payton does as far as details, as far as play calls, as far as checks, as far as audibles. Russell Wilson, those first few weeks, was kind of struggling with getting into that groove. And now he's kind of getting into a mastery of it. We hear, if people, I pray that people just watch the games and listen for what Russ is doing, because he gets up to the line and he's making his calls based on what the defense is giving him and what he's seeing. And that's, to me, that's not training wheels. That's not holding his hand. That's a quarterback doing a quarterback's job. You get 2 plays. If you don't like the first one, hey, kill, can, whatever you want, get to the second one. That's not just Russell Wilson. That is Sean Payton. That's Sean Payton's details. That's Sean Payton's play calling. That's everything that they're doing in the film room. And this is going to be one of their tougher games, going up against a team that, like you said, is hungry. They have a lot to prove, and the Broncos have a lot to prove as well. Sean Payton's done a good job as far as, humbling Russ, saying, hey, you're not the chef anymore. You're the sous chef. Okay. Go chop my onions, go chop my celery, prepare everything else. Let me be the cook. All right. Okay. And Russ had to take a step back and say, you know what? You're right.
Is that what you think he needed?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Last year it was a battle last year. And I don't feel like a lot of people looked into the articles that came out on The Athletic and what they were saying. They were running 2 different offensive schemes last year. You had Hackett's scheme and you had Russ's scheme. And Russ would kind of try to do things on a week-to-week basis and be like, hey, I think this is going to work. And then try to install. Doesn't work like that. You can't just do that. From a coaching aspect, you absolutely can. You can say, hey, we're going to wrinkle this and we're going to change this and whatever. But when you're running 2 different schemes and guys are on 2 different, completely different, pages, it's not going to work. So what Russ needed was someone to come in and say, hey, shut up, sit down, watch the film, and do what I say. And now we're seeing the product of it. It's just good football.
And, you bring them that Chiefs game being one of your biggest. I think your recent victory against the Browns was a statement win. 29 points against the Myles Garrett-led Browns defense. That is just insane. You created
Who?
The Myles.
He didn't do. He was shut down. He was shut down that game. Yeah, Myles is a game wrecker, man. But yeah, that win was crazy because I definitely did not see that coming at all. I saw a defense that was very stout, but the biggest thing, man, Zach Strief, the Broncos rookie offensive line coach, veteran offensive lineman in the NFL, he has completely switched the mentality of this offensive line. They're nasty now. And you gotta be nasty when you go against a nasty defense. Browns are a nasty defense. They pushed them around and they were physical. And that's been the biggest shift, man, is your mentality going into each game where, you could shake in your boots all you want. I was shaking in my boots before the Bills game. I was shaking in my boots before the Browns game. They calmed me down. Okay. I see someone say Sean Payton runs a West Coast offense. Air Coryell all day. It's Air Coryell.
Yeah. Nobody knows Air Coryell at San Diego Chargers way back when. So Dan Fouts quarterback. So for the Air Coryell system. Anyway, I forgot my question. Oh, anyway, no points actually. So you were talking about points. Then they've won the nitty gritty kind of games. How do you think the Denver Broncos are going to? Can they keep up with the Houston Texans offensively? Just to put it verbatim.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, looking over my notes from these last 4 games that Houston has had, they've allowed 300 plus yards the last 4 games, 26 points per game, but only 100 plus rushing yards once. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, the Broncos are one of the better teams in the league at running the ball. I still expect them to run the ball quite a bit because that's Sean Payton. Got to run the ball, baby. But I feel like this is an opportunity for the Broncos to open up the pass game. You've got a team, you're going against a defense that has allowed quite a few passing yards over the last 4 games. This is a team that does have holes. Yeah, Derek Stingley is a great player. He's still coming back. He does have to stay healthy, but Cortland Sutton is on a red hot streak. And you guys brought Desmond King back, and there's Steven Nelson. I hope it's a shootout, but I feel like it's going to be one of those games where it's just going to be another week of, hey, we're going to run. Now we're going to pass. Let's just get into third and manageable, and then we're going to control the clock. So I think this is going to be, as far as points go, maybe 23, 27 points tops. I don't see it being like a 35 to 28 game. I don't see it being any higher than that. But I think that this is just going to be one of those Sean Payton games where he's just going to run the ball. He's going to try and run the ball as much as he can. The last 4 games, Tampa Bay ran it 31 times. Jacksonville ran it 30 times. Cincy ran it 16. Arizona ran it 25 times. I mean, they're running the ball quite a bit. The run defense is kind of holding up, but that pass defense, man, this has to be the game that Sean Payton says, all right, Russ, now you can cook. Now we can open up the playbook. Let's get Marvin Mims involved. Let's get Jerry Jeudy involved, because we haven't. This is the game. The cat tower back there. Yeah, those are my boys. They're with me every episode.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be my opinion, a high scoring game, right? Our secondary has been beat up. What we haven't been strong in is yards after the catch. I mean, we have been allowing these receivers, these tight ends, 25, 30 yards after the catch. And I do potentially see this being a shootout, because CJ Stroud just does not go away, whatever you throw at him. I want to know how you think your secondary matches up against our wide receiving core. It's either going to be Nico Collins, Tank Dell. We get back Robert Woods today in practice, 2 150-yard performances back-to-back weeks, and then tight end Dalton Jones. I'm sorry, yes, Noah Brown.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to make it known. I said before the season that the Houston Texans have one of the sneakier wide receiver rooms. This is one of my favorite wide receiver. When I was looking at this team on paper before the season, I was like, man, Tank Dell, that was one of my guys. Nico Collins, that's one of my guys. Robert Woods, you got the savvy vet in there. Noah Brown coming over from Dallas. This is going to be a fun team to watch. And lo and behold, they're a fun team to watch offensively. How do I feel like the Broncos secondary matches up? I did see someone say that Tank Dell had a minor calf issue. He went in from practice. I think he's still trying to play, from what I've heard, but even still, that's a weapon. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Broncos. Pat Surtain, that's PS2, baby. He's one of the best in the league at what he does. But Jaquan McMillan, he's been playing really, really well as of late. Fabian Moreau is only allowing a 57.9 passer rating when he's thrown to. That was one of the bigger changes that Vance Joseph made that has kind of really sprung this defense forward, is changing from Damari Mathis and Essang Bassi to Fabian Moreau and Jaquan McMillan. That has been the biggest key. So I really, really like this matchup. I think for the most part, it's pretty even, but I'm going to give the edge to Houston because this is still a group that's been playing together all season long. Broncos secondary has not been playing together all season long. PJ Locke had his game back from injury last week. He balled out. He had a great game. He was Chris's player of the game. But you still got to account for everybody. Love Justin Simmons, love PJ Locke, love all those guys in that secondary. I feel like this is a pretty even matchup, but I'm going to give that slight edge to the Texans wide receiver.
Who do you think PS2 shadowing, man? He's a guy that follows the number one guy. We don't really got a number one guy. We've got people that have performed like wide receiver ones.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite interested. Do you think he follows someone like Tank Dell? Because Tank is just, I know the image, he's got the calf thing. He's going in for imaging. It's just, he's so explosive. Eliminating him could really help you defensively. Where do you think he follows?
Well, that's tough. Pat has kind of followed the number one. Like it's been hit and miss. Whether it's sometimes it depends on down and distance. Sometimes it depends on if that number one is on the field or on boundary. He'll sometimes follow, but unless it's like a true number one guy, he you'll probably see him on Nico quite a bit because Nico's the bigger, more physical wide receiver. I honestly like the matchup between Tank and Jaquan McMillan. I think that is going to be a fun one to watch. Maybe they'll switch it up maybe they'll switch it up and put Moreau inside if they have Robert Woods playing that slot like he does a lot of the time. That's a good question. I think that you will probably see PS2 matched up with Nico for the majority of the game. Jaquan's playing great defense right now. He's playing really, really well, very disciplined. We could even see, maybe even a guy like PJ Locke, or maybe they match Justin Simmons up with a guy like Robert Woods. Who knows? But Vance has done a pretty good job of mixing his coverages over the season, going with a good, healthy mix of zone and man. The blitz pressures have been great. But I definitely think that we see Jaquan McMillan matched up with Tank Dell if he is a full go.
I wanted to switch sides to the ball. Denver's Broncos D-line 4 sacks last week against the Browns. Houston Texans O-line just lost Titus Howard for the year. It will be Lerman Tunsil LT, who struggled on Sunday. Juice Scruggs, who his first action was last week. Then Michael Dieter, Shaq Mason, and George Fant. How do you think your D-line matches up against our O-line?
Man, Zach Allen has been playing absolutely terrifying football as of late. He has just been an absolute beast inside. Baron Browning coming back. There's a reason that we're on this 5-game streak. And I think that a lot of people should be watching 56 on the Broncos defensive line, because that dude is, I'm not going to say that he's Von Miller 2.0, but he has the athleticism. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got the burst. A lot of those same pass rush moves. That guy is becoming a game wrecker. Jonathan Cooper is another guy who has been playing lights out this season. Nick Bonito is going to be playing kind of this hybrid pass rush, maybe spy role that he's been playing these last few weeks. And then DJ Jones has been playing really well inside. Mike Purcell is one of the better run stuffers in the league. Our run defense, last in the league. Obviously, that Miami game is going to haunt us because you give up almost 275 yards of rushing. You're going to be last for a while. But I like this matchup for the Broncos. I'm definitely going to give it to the Broncos because of how they've been playing as of late. Baron Browning coming back and creating pressure has been a huge catalyst for the way that the rest of the defense has been playing. If we think back to those no-fly zone days, why was that secondary so successful? They were so successful because they were creating pressure and they were getting to the quarterback. And that's what we've kind of seen during this stretch. Jonathan Cooper, 7th-round pick, he's making a name for himself. Nick Bonito has been coming around after a terrible rookie season, and Baron Browning has been a freak coming back from his injury. I think that this is going to be a big game for the Houston offensive line. They really need to get their stuff together, especially with Howard being out. But I definitely like this matchup with the Broncos pass rush.
How do you think you're going to get running the ball, man? You got Javonte Williams and company. I know the Houston Texans have struggled against the run, and we don't have a lot of depth there. We do as much as we can. I appreciate everyone that has, like Khalil Davis, you know, former guy from another football league, just comes in, boom, the Ryan system, and he's been playing absolutely phenomenal for us. But regardless, 0 sacks last week against the Jaguars. There's a lack of pass rush. We did add Derek Barnett. Hopefully something happens there. Yeah. You know, I know he was a potential guy for some other teams that were looking around for him. But the run game overall for y'all, I'm not happy as a Texans fan.
I mean, and when I was looking back at these games, man, I mean, when you see teams run, 30 plus times, right? You kind of expect them to be in that 100 plus range. And, these teams have not done well outside of Arizona getting 120. For the key to success for the Broncos offense is, throw the ball, but you got to be able to give Javonte at least 20 carries a game. That is our rule of thumb. Javonte gets 20 carries, generally you'll get a win. That's kind of the way that it's been. I really like the way that Sean Payton has kind of mixed up his calls via, depending on the game and the opponent. Against Buffalo, it was a lot of zone. Hey, we're going to go outside zone. We're going to throw in some duo. We're going to throw in some inside zone. And then you go into the Cleveland game and all of a sudden it's, we're running gap. We're running trap. We're running power. This is completely different. Having that versatility to be able to mix up your run calls and, get guys like Javonte and McLaughlin involved and then P. Ryan out of the backfield has been massive. Yeah. I think that this is going to be a tough matchup for Houston. I fully expect Sean Payton to run the ball. Probably we might see 27, 28 carries total from the offense. I would like to see maybe around 30, 32. But 20 of those have to be for Javonte. I feel good about our run game. Like I said, physical up front. We're pushing guys around. We're definitely, not letting teams handle us. Minnesota is probably the exception. They only ran the ball, I think, 25 times in that game total. You need 20 for Javonte alone. So I feel good about it. I think it's going to be a little more pass happy, but if I was a betting man, I would probably bet on Sean Payton running the ball quite a bit.
Last one for me. You brought up CJ Stroud earlier and how you liked him during the draft. What about him? Did you like him? Did you think he was QB1 or did you think Bryce Young was QB1?
No, I absolutely thought CJ Stroud was QB2 for me. My QB1 was Anthony Richardson for me personally. And that was because I saw the blend of speed, athleticism, the arm talent, the accuracy that he did have at times. And I felt like he kind of got screwed over by his offensive coordinator over there in Florida. I think that Anthony Richardson is very good, but outside of that, when we're comparing the number one and number two, CJ Stroud, I had CJ Stroud way over Bryce Young. It's his poise, his ability some of his throws that he was making at Ohio State were absolutely bonkers. Throwing from the right hash to outside the numbers on the left side on a dot. That is something that is hard to do unless you have a ridiculous amount of arm strength and accuracy. This is the dude that I watched over and over and over. People just give him the Justin Fields tag. He's another Ohio State quarterback. He's not going to do anything. All he does is this. All he does is that. No, what he does is he carves up defenses meticulously. Before the draft, I said if he can replicate what he did against Georgia in the college football playoff every game in the NFL, he's going to be a really successful quarterback. What has he done? He's been really, really good. There's still obviously things that he can improve upon. He's ranked 27th in on target throw percentage. Yeah. Still at 73.1%, but ranked 27th among the NFL. I feel like there's things that he can improve upon, but man, this kid, do not sleep on this kid. He's going to be so fun to watch going forward. The fact that he's even being considered in the MVP conversation right now is
that was my next question.
Ridiculous. I do think he's an MVP candidate. Why? Because he's winning games that he realistically shouldn't be winning. I watched every effing snap from that Tampa Bay game, and I came away with my jaw on the floor with how well he was conducting himself, orchestrating his drives. The Cincinnati game was the same way. This kid can play. He's not Deshaun Watson. He's not Carr. He's not any of those other guys. This is a dude. This is a guy that will be a franchise quarterback for a long time. They should be so happy that the Panthers took Bryce Young first overall. That's a whole other mess. But I love CJ Stroud. I love his ability to get out of the pocket when he needs to. I love his anticipation. I love his arm strength, his accuracy. For a rookie, this is ridiculous. He should not be playing this well with an offensive line that is kind of puzzle pieced together and then a wide receiver room that everybody kind of counted out at the beginning of the season. I am so happy that CJ Stroud is seeing this success because he absolutely deserves it.
Patrick, you come on here anytime.
brother. Thank you. And
you're invited to the barbecue, Patrick.
Yeah,
yeah.
You're invited to it, but
hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I got to run and go pick up my kid. But I thank you again. Would love to come back on anytime, especially during the draft season. Let's go. Let's talk some Texans draft, baby.
Thank you so much, guys.
Right,
this
was guys.
Have a good day.
Yep.
Fun, bro.
Fun, man. And ladies and gentlemen, this was a fire episode of Believe in the Houston Texans, brought to you by Bet Online. Once again, man, we bring you all the best guests that we human possibly can. I mean, I don't know anyone else who's doing former NFL players, former NFL quarterbacks, former NFL GMs. Shout out to you, Harley, man. From other teams, that's what's insane.
Yeah.
With that being said, my final score, let's not give it yet, Harley. Let's give it when me and you do the do our prediction. Maybe about
I have one right now. So.
No. I still I'm gonna rewatch the game against the Browns. 35.
That killed me. I don't even think I got one. Boom, Nick. 35-3 Texans.
Shout out to Nick for the comment. But
you know what? There it is.
Let me see. Comment. Jacob asked us one question. What do you guys think about the T logo on Cal and Andre? Looks like a Ross version of the Tesla logo. I think it looks like the Teen Titans logo, low key. Kind of. However, I don't like it. I don't. It's gonna take some getting used to.
It's basically so when they do the font for Texans and the end zones, it's that T. That's all it is. It's nothing different. It's really like that. There it is, right there on your cup. That font, the T on the right there. That is there it is. Yeah, that T right there. That's all it is on the hat. They just took it and put it on the hat. I don't like it. You know why?
It's ugly.
I hate it. You know what it reminds me of? The despicable Texas Rangers. That's what it reminds me of.
I need some swag, man. I need something like, Astros have great hats. I mean, it's fantastic. It trumps
Astros, Rockets.
And no. How do they say in Moneyball? There's them, there's us, there's 50 feet of crap.
Yeah, and then the Texans.
Bro, we have no type of drip for the Houston Texans, and it's sad because when CJ says, I want y'all to rep the gear, I'm like, hey, man, I want to rep it too, but it just don't match anything I got.
I got some cool shirts, Texans wise. Shirts, all right. You know, I can find some shirts. But hat wise, it's just like the same thing over and over and over. Like here's another white hat, here's another white hat, here's a red hat and a blue hat, and then here's it 3 more times. Like, come on, man. I need something different. The Astros always come out with they just got some fire gear and the different colors and all that. I mean, come on, man. You can't beat it. I know people were talking about we're trying to ask about Desmond King and all that good stuff. Desmond King seems like he's going to be activated for the game. It looks like.
Dude, I can't rock this in the club, dude. I can't. And I was shout out to Desmond King for coming back and having a big moment on that 4th down. Just
snap.
Stonewall. That's all he had was one snap.
That one snap, and that snap was stonewalling the Jaguars on 1st and 1 with 1 second left. Absolutely fire, man. Absolutely.
Well, what do you think about these?
Man, it's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, but that's like exactly. I mean, I'm wearing that to barbecue. Like it's like it's like a trucker hat. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I'm not. But yeah, no. Shaq Griffin ended up getting cut. D'Amico said that the reason they had cut him, just because he wanted him to have another opportunity on another team. So I'm assuming that Shaq Griffin is obviously the 3rd corner when it comes to outside cornerback depth. He's not an inside guy. You got Desmond King back. You got Tavierre Thomas, who just played like ass last week. But Tavierre Thomas is a really – what?
Marcus Peters?
It's a fun conversation to entertain. Landry Locker threw out the idea on Twitter and it is caught like wildfire, and I decided to join in on it. Why not? I mean, why not? You're going for a playoff run. Like, you are outside looking in. Hey, all hands on deck. You get Marcus Peters, bring that dog in here, man. Bring him in here. I mean, it's going to be up to him. Obviously, he's not going to get a lot of playing time, first off, because Derek Stingley and Steven Nelson have been playing very, very good. But yeah, like that's what Landry Locker's basically bottom line was. And Marcus Peters hates Sean Payton. Go back to the Rams Saints playoff game there. So yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I would like for something like that to happen. Shout out to Danny DG. We're gonna have some good merch for the league coming soon. Hey man, we gonna keep that one quiet, but we definitely got something cooking on the burner right now. Shout out to Danny for all the editing and all the highlights and everything. Appreciate everything he does.
My guy. Hopefully we can do a stream pretty soon. But guys, fire episode. Believe in the Houston Texans. Shout out to our boy Patrick showing some love to CJ Stroud, giving us great insight about the dirty Denver Broncos, man. Guys, we'll see you in the next couple of days. Do me a favor. Look at the lead _ on Houston on Twitter, on YouTube as well. Let's get him, fuck 5,000. Let's get him to 6,000, 7,000 subscribers, guys. And for me, just type in 713 Houston Sportcast. Guys, thank you so much. You have a very rest blessed